Hi there, I'm Julie Sanford with Studio JSD in Grand Haven, Michigan, and I am at Halstead Jewelry Supply, and I'm going to show you how to do cuff bracelets 2 ways. So I have these cuff bracelet blanks. They're beautiful 18 gauge sterling silver blanks, and what I want to do is make sure they're nice and fully annealed before we start. So annealing this metal just makes sure that they're really nice and soft and pliable, and that when I do put texture on them, it's going to be a nice deep emphasized texture. So to anneal them, I just need to bring these up to kind of a red hot heat. Here under the lights of the studio, it's really difficult to see that color. So another indicator for the annealing temperature would be to take a Sharpie marker, and we're just going to put a line across the piece on a Sharpie with a Sharpie marker. And I'm going to heat this up until the Sharpie marker line disappears. So let's see what happens. So I've got the torch here ready. If you've got this type of torch, I'm using a number 1 tip. So here we go. There we go. So I just got this up on my bench, and being really careful not to get the heat on my bench. And I'm just going to heat this up till the marker starts to disappear. There it goes. And I'm going to angle it this way. Making really good, efficient use of this heat. So I'm letting the heat just kind of angling it so that it's like hitting the length of the metal, and then I switch it this side. So I'm using the heat really efficiently, making sure the heat, and I can see it. I can see this metal just relax and get nice and soft. So now that it's fully softened and annealed, I'm going to quench it, and then I am going to pickle it, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, so I'm over here at the rolling mill, and this is just a standard easy rolling mill. And what I've got is I've got 18 gauge copper wire, and I made a little curly cue and some waves, and I'm just going to press this texture directly into that with a rolling mill. So first I need to determine how wide, how open these jaws need to be in my rolling mill. So I'm going to put everything in there, and then I'm just going to tighten it just enough. It's giving it a squeeze, but it's not pressing in. And then I am going to turn this just a little bit tighter, just this way, like a quarter turn tighter. And then I can just roll this in. I'm going to tighten it up just a little more. I feel like it needs to be a little bit tighter. Okay, there we go. Rolling this through and trying to keep the wire on the piece as I roll it through. And there we go. Look at that. It's really organic, fun, wavy texture. There are other commercial texture plates that you can run through this to get texture imprinted into your metal. So you could use these brass texture plates like that, in the same way to run through. But I do like the organic and kind of expressive little things that you can make on your own using just copper wire, and you can reuse these over and over again. So let's just see how that would look. I'm going to turn this, tighten it just a little bit more, and I'm going to reuse this one and roll it through. I tightened it a little bit more just because we've already squeezed that copper wire, so it's a little bit thinner than the first time. So check that out. I just rolled it through again and did it again on the other side. All right, so now I'm back over here at the bench, and I have my bench block. I have a sandbag underneath it, and the sandbag is gonna support that bench block, and it also kind of absorbs some of the noise. So I have this little leaf stamp, and I thought it'd be beautiful to put some leaves on here, and then it will just almost look like tendrils or something. So I have the stamp, and I'm just gonna, figure out where I wanna put that. So I've got my stamp on my piece, and I'm kind of rocking it back and forth just so I can feel that it's kind of in a level position. So I can feel where the level is. And I'm going to give it one good hit. Now this is quite a small stamp, so I should be able to get a good clean stamp with one hit. So if it's nice and level, give it a nice big swing and hit. And there's one little leaf. And I'm just going to work my way around. Just going to put a few more on here. And can you imagine how cute this would be if you did this and then maybe put some bezel cups on there and set some stones? So that is one way to use stamps. And now I'm going to show you how to just put a hammer texture in there. So I've got the blank. This is fully annealed silver. It's very soft. One of my favorite textures I like to do though is with this cross peen hammer. And I'm going to show you how to do like a birch bark texture. And birch bark has those like, those horizontal lines that run through it. And so the way that I do that is I'm just going to take this and kind of have it in a level spot here. And then I'm just going to hammer just kind of back and forth and in the middle all the way down. If you feel like you need a little extra somewhere, like you're moving a little too quick, you really like the way that it looks on the side, I'm going to just pop a couple side ones on there, maybe in the middle there. And that's a beautiful birch bark texture. What looks really cool with this is if you put a nice dark patina on there and then take a sandpaper to, take the patina off those high edges, and then those little indentations are all black. So it looks like a beautiful birch bark cuff bracelet. All right, so once you have your bracelet finished, and you could finish this any way that you wanted to. You could do the patina. I did go in and I kind of rounded these edges because the cuff bracelet blinks are, really straight and the corners are sharp. So I did round those out just a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. So cuff bracelets are, shaped like a letter C. Most of the time, 6 inches is what you need for a cuff bracelet, depending on your wrist size. But so in order to shape this, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I'm going to show you how to use a swage block to shape that into the shape that you want. So this is actually a forming tool. It's very, very handy. So we're just going to use this to sink it down into this shape. And we're just going to push it in like that. If you can't just push it in, you could use a mallet to hammer it down in there like that. And what I do with the cuff bracelets too is I will form one side first and then flip it around and form the other side rather than just walking it all the way around, because once you get to the other side you don't have very much leverage. So I'm using the leverage of the length of the bracelet, forming those ends in, because those ends are going to have the sharpest, most direct angle to them. And so we really need those ends to be coming in more severely. And then we can just gently push it in, working from both sides to get it nice and even. You can see how that's coming around. And if you need to make it a little bit more curved in, you could actually use the smaller size. If you wanted that a little bit smaller, you could push it down and use the one that's got a tighter curve to it. And cuff bracelets are meant to, not to be opened and closed to put on and off. There should be enough of a gap that you can just put it against your wrist and just kind of turn your wrist into it like that. And you shouldn't open and close it. So there's this gap was a little bit big. I could have used a smaller gap, walk into it, and there you go. Another way to form a cuff bracelet would be using a bracelet mandrel. So this one is an oval bracelet mandrel. Ideally, this would fit into a vise, and a vise would, if you have a big shop vise, to hold this steady, and then you would form that bracelet using a mallet around there. If you've put a really heavy texture on this cuff bracelet, let's say you hammered it all the way around and it's really stiff and work hardened again, you might need to anneal it again before you form it. Otherwise, it's just going to be resisting everything that you're doing. So that is making cuff bracelets. Again, I'm Julie Sanford with Studio JSD in Grand Haven, Michigan, and you're with Halstead Jewelry Supply, and I hope you enjoyed this video.